The night sky above New York City erupted in a dazzling display of light, as if 1,000 shooting stars had chosen that moment to streak across the heavens. But these were no celestial bodies burning up in Earth's atmosphere. These lights moved with purpose, weaving intricate patterns that defied natural explanation. Dr. Aria Chen, a brilliant young astrophysicist at the Hayden Planetarium, stood transfixed on the observatory's rooftop. Her breath caught in her throat as she watched the impossible unfold before her eyes. "It's happening," she whispered, her voice a mix of awe and trepidation. "They're here." Within minutes, every major news network across the globe interrupted their broadcasts. The message was the same everywhere. Unidentified objects had entered Earth's solar system and were now visible in the night sky. Panic spread like wildfire. In Washington, D.C., President Evelyn Marsh sat in the Situation Room, surrounded by her top military advisors and scientists. The tension in the air was palpable as they watched live feeds from observatories and military installations around the world. "Madam President," General Marcus Harding began, his voice grave, "NORAD has confirmed multiple objects of unknown origin have breached our outer solar system. They're moving at speeds we've never seen before, and their trajectories suggest intelligent control." President Marsh's eyes narrowed as she processed the information. "What are our options, General?" "We've initiated DFCON2, ma'am. Our missile defense systems are on high alert, and we're scrambling jets as we speak. But frankly, if these objects are hostile and as advanced as they appear, our current capabilities may be insufficient." The President nodded, her jaw set with determination. "Let's not jump to conclusions about their intentions. Has there been any attempt at communication?" Dr. Samantha Reeves, the President's chief science advisor, spoke up. "Not yet, Madam President. We're broadcasting welcome messages on all frequencies, but so far there's been no response." As the hours ticked by, the objects drew closer to Earth. Military forces around the world were on high alert, their weapons trained on the sky. Civilians huddled in their homes, glued to their screens, waiting for news of humanity's fate. Then, as suddenly as they had appeared, the lights in the sky coalesced into distinct shapes. Massive ships, each easily the size of a small city, took formation around the Earth. Their sleek, otherworldly designs spoke of technology far beyond human understanding. In homes, offices, and public squares across the planet, screens flickered to life with a unified broadcast. The image that appeared was both familiar and utterly alien, a humanoid figure with iridescent skin and eyes that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. "People of Earth," the being spoke, its voice simultaneously heard in every language across the globe. "We are the Zephyrians, travelers from a distant star. We come in peace, seeking to make contact with your species." The words hung in the air, a moment of silent disbelief sweeping across humanity. In the Situation Room, President Marsh leaned forward, her heart racing. "This is it," she murmured. "Everything changes from this moment." Dr. Chen, still on the rooftop of the Hayden Planetarium, felt a shiver run down her spine. Her mind raced with the implications of this moment. The scientific advancements, the cultural exchange, the sheer vastness of the universe suddenly made tangible. But beneath her excitement, a kernel of unease took root. What did these beings truly want? As the Zephyrian continued its address, promising friendship and the sharing of knowledge, world leaders scrambled to formulate a response. The United Nations convened an emergency session, and diplomats from every nation argued over how to proceed. In the days that followed, Earth became a planet transformed. The Zephyrian ships remained in orbit, a constant reminder of humanity's new reality. Teams of scientists, linguists, and diplomats worked around the clock to establish meaningful communication with the alien visitors. Dr. Chen found herself at the forefront of these efforts, her expertise in astrophysics making her an invaluable asset. As she pored over the initial data from the Zephyrian ships, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to their arrival than mere friendly contact. These energy readings, she muttered to herself, examining a holographic display in her hastily assembled lab. They're off the charts. What kind of power source could generate this much energy? Her colleague, Dr. James Hawthorne, looked up from his own work. Maybe we should be asking why they need that much power in the first place, he suggested, his tone cautious. Aria nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration. Exactly. And look at these orbital patterns. They're not just sitting up there. They're scanning, mapping every inch of our planet. As the initial shock of first contact began to wear off, questions like these started to surface. Why had the Zephyrians really come to Earth? What were their true intentions? And perhaps most importantly, how would humanity navigate this new chapter in its history? In the White House, President Marsh prepared to address the nation. She stood before the cameras, acutely aware that her words would be heard not just by her fellow Americans, but by billions around the world, and perhaps by the Zephyrians themselves. My fellow citizens of Earth, she began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. We stand at the dawn of a new era. The arrival of the Zephyrians has opened our eyes to the vast wonders of the universe. But as we move forward into this brave new world, we must do so with both hope and caution. We will embrace this opportunity for growth and understanding, but we will also remain vigilant in protecting the interests of humanity. As her words echoed across the globe, humanity held its collective breath, poised on the brink of a future that no one could have imagined. The Zephyrians had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Zephyrian delegation stood in the United Nations General Assembly, their iridescent forms a stark contrast to the sea of human faces. Ambassador Zorax, the lead diplomat, addressed the gathered world leaders with an air of benevolent superiority. Esteemed representatives of Earth, Zorax began, his multifaceted eyes scanning the room. We are pleased to share some of our technological marvels with you today. With a wave of his hand, holographic displays flickered to life around the chamber. They showcased sleek spacecraft capable of faster-than-light travel, energy sources that dwarfed anything on Earth, and medical advancements that seemed nothing short of miraculous. As you can see, Zorax continued, his tone almost patronizing, the Zephyrian Collective has much to offer your young species. We hope this demonstration illustrates the benefits of a close alliance between our peoples. In the audience, Dr. Aria Chen sat rigid, her mind racing as she absorbed the implications of what she was seeing. Next to her, James Hawthorne leaned in close. They're not just showing off, he whispered. This is a power play. Aria nodded imperceptibly. They want us to know how far behind we are, she murmured back. But they're underestimating us. As the presentation concluded, world leaders began to discuss the Zephyrian offer of protection in exchange for Earth's natural resources. The debate was heated, with some arguing for immediate acceptance of Zephyrian aid, while others cautioned against rushing into an agreement that could compromise Earth's sovereignty. Meanwhile, in a secret facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a different kind of meeting was taking place. Dr. Chen stood before a group of the world's top scientists, engineers, and military strategists. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, her voice filled with determination. While the politicians debate, we need to act. The Zephyrians have shown us what's possible, but they've also revealed their hand. They think we're primitive, incapable of understanding their technology. That's their weakness, and our opportunity. She brought up a holographic display of her own, showcasing the data she and her team had gathered on Zephyrian tech. Their physics isn't magic. It's just more advanced. But the principles are there, waiting for us to decipher them. I believe we can make a quantum leap in our own technology, but we need to work fast and in absolute secrecy. General Harding, who had been silently observing, spoke up. You have the full support of the military, Dr. Chen. Whatever resources you need, you'll have them. But can you deliver results before the Zephyrians make their true move? Aria's eyes blazed with intensity. We have to. The future of our species depends on it. Over the next several months, as diplomatic talks with the Zephyrians dragged on, Aria and her team worked tirelessly. They pored over every scrap of data, every energy reading, every glimpse of alien technology they could get their hands on. The breakthrough came on a cold winter night. Aria had been staring at equations for hours, her eyes burning with fatigue, when suddenly the numbers aligned in her mind. "That's it," she exclaimed, startling her colleagues. "The key to their energy production. It's not just about harnessing quantum fluctuations, it's about creating stable micro-universes." Her revelation set off a chain reaction of innovation. Within weeks, the team had constructed a prototype energy core that, while crude by Zephyrian standards, represented a leap forward of at least a century in human technology. As news of the breakthrough spread through the classified channels, other advancements quickly followed. Propulsion systems, material science, even the beginnings of gravity manipulation, all sparked by the initial insights gained from studying the Zephyrians. Above ground, life continued as normal. The Zephyrian ships remained in orbit, a constant reminder of their presence. Diplomatic meetings became a regular occurrence, with the aliens always maintaining their air of superiority. During one such meeting, Ambassador Zorax approached President Marsh with what he clearly thought was a generous offer. "Madam President," he said smoothly, "we've observed the strain your planet's growing population is placing on your resources. The Zephyrian Collective is prepared to offer you access to off-world mining operations in exchange for, shall we say, a more formal arrangement of protection." President Marsh, who had been briefed on the secret progress being made, smiled diplomatically. "That's a very interesting proposal, Ambassador. We'll certainly give it careful consideration. But tell me, what exactly do you think Earth needs protection from?" Zorax's expression flickered for a moment, caught off guard by the question. "Well, the galaxy can be a dangerous place for a developing species. There are threats you can scarcely imagine." "I see," the President replied, her tone neutral. "We appreciate your concern for our well-being. Rest assured, we take the security of our planet very seriously." As the meeting concluded, Zorax couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. The humans seemed different, more confident, but he quickly dismissed the notion. After all, what could these primitives have accomplished in such a short time? Back in the secret facility, Aria and her team celebrated their latest success, a functioning prototype of a faster-than-light communication device. As she watched her colleagues' jubilant faces, Aria felt a mix of pride and apprehension. "We've come so far," she mused to James, who stood beside her. "But will it be enough?" James squeezed her shoulder reassuringly. "Thanks to you, we have a fighting chance. The Zephyrians have no idea what's coming." As if on cue, alarms began to blare throughout the facility. General Harding burst into the room, his face grim. "Dr. Chen, we've got a problem. Our deep space monitors just picked up a massive energy surge from the edge of the solar system. More Zephyrian ships are coming, and it looks like a lot of them." Aria's heart raced as she absorbed the news. The timeline had just accelerated dramatically. "How long do we have?" she asked, her mind already racing through calculations and contingencies. "Best estimate, 2 weeks, the general replied. Aria nodded, a steely resolve settling over her. "Then we got 2 weeks to prepare Earth for a confrontation that will decide the fate of our species. Let's get to work." As the team sprang into action, the true test of humanity's ingenuity and determination loomed on the horizon. The Zephyrians had underestimated Earth's potential, and soon they would learn the consequences of that mistake. The United Nations Security Council chamber buzzed with tense energy as world leaders gathered for yet another emergency session. The news of the approaching Zephyrian fleet had been kept from the public, but those in power knew that time was running out. President Evelyn Marsh took her place at the center of the horseshoe-shaped table, her face a mask of calm determination. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice cutting through the murmurs, "we stand at a crossroads. The choice we make today will shape the future of our entire species. She gestured to a holographic display showing the solar system, with a mass of red dots approaching from the outer edges. As you can see, a significant Zephyrian force will reach Earth in less than 2 weeks. We must decide now. Do we acquiesce to their demands for protection, or do we stand our ground? The Chinese president, Liu Wei, leaned forward. And what of our own advancements? Dr. Chen's team has made remarkable progress, but are we truly ready to face this threat? Before President Marsh could respond, the doors to the chamber burst open. Ambassador Zorak strode in, flanked by 2 other Zephyrians. The room fell silent, tension thick in the air. "Forgive my intrusion," Zorak said, his tone anything but apologetic, "but it seems we have much to discuss." President Marsh's eyes narrowed. "Indeed we do, Ambassador. Perhaps you'd like to explain the fleet heading towards Earth." Zorak's multifaceted eyes gleamed. "Merely a routine rotation of our forces, I assure you. But I'm curious. How did you detect them? Your technology shouldn't be capable of such long-range observations." "We have our ways," Marsh replied coolly. "Now about this protection you're offering. I think it's time we discuss the terms in more detail." What followed was a masterclass in diplomatic maneuvering. For hours, human leaders and Zephyrian delegates engaged in a verbal chess match. Each side probed for weaknesses, made veiled threats, and offered carefully worded compromises. Meanwhile, in the secret facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Aria Chen and her team worked feverishly. The prototype quantum core hummed with energy, powering a series of experimental devices. "We're pushing the limits of what we understand," Aria muttered, her eyes fixed on a stream of data. "If we can just stabilize the field harmonics." James Hawthorne looked up from his own workstation. "Aria, you need to see this." He pulled up a video feed on the main screen. The image showed a Zephyrian ship in orbit, its hull seeming to ripple and shift. Suddenly, a smaller craft emerged, its design unlike anything they'd seen before. "Is that some kind of stealth technology?" Aria asked, her mind racing with the implications. James nodded grimly. "It looks like it. And if they have ships we can't detect, then we need to assume they've been watching us much more closely than we thought," Aria finished. She grabbed her tablet and began furiously tapping out calculations. "We need to accelerate the SHIELD prototype. If they decide to strike, we need to be ready." Back in New York, the diplomatic dance continued. As discussions dragged into the night, cracks began to show in the Zephyrian facade of benevolence. "You must understand," Zorak said, his patience clearly wearing thin. "The protection we offer is not merely a courtesy. There are forces in this galaxy that would see your world stripped bare, your people enslaved or worse. We have the power to prevent that." The Russian president, Anastasia Volkova, leaned back in her chair, her eyes sharp. "And in return, you would have unrestricted access to our resources." It sounds less like protection, and more like a protection racket. Zorak's eyes flashed dangerously. "Choose your words carefully, Madam President. We have been patient, but our patience has limits." As tensions in the chamber rose, a junior aide slipped a note to President Marsh. Her eyes widened slightly as she read it, but her expression remained neutral. "Ambassador," she said, cutting through the growing argument, "perhaps we should take a brief recess. I believe some refreshments have been prepared in the adjacent room." As the delegates filed out, Marsh quickly gathered her closest advisors. "We just got word from Dr. Chen," she whispered urgently. "They've made a breakthrough with the SHIELD technology, but they've also discovered that the Zephyrians have stealth capabilities we didn't know about." General Harding cursed under his breath. "That changes everything. We need to stall for more time." Marsh nodded. "Agreed. But we also need to be prepared for things to go south quickly. Alert our forces, quietly, and get word to our allies. It's time to activate Operation Quantum Surge." As the diplomatic discussions resumed, a subtle shift had occurred. The human delegates, now armed with new information, began to push back more forcefully against Cypherian demands. Zorax, sensing the change, became increasingly agitated. "You test our goodwill," he hissed. "Perhaps a demonstration of our power would help you understand the gravity of your situation." President Marsh stood, her voice ringing with authority. "That sounds dangerously close to a threat, Ambassador. Let me be clear. Earth is not a prize to be won or a resource to be exploited. We are a sovereign planet, and we will defend our freedom with everything we have." The room fell silent, the tension palpable. For a moment, it seemed as though the facade of diplomacy might shatter entirely. Then, unexpectedly, Zorax laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Oh, my dear President," he said, his voice dripping with condescension, "you have no idea what you're dealing with, but you will learn soon enough." With that, the Zephyrian delegation swept out of the chamber, leaving the human leaders in stunned silence. As the doors closed behind them, President Marsh turned to her advisors. "That's it then," she said grimly. "We're out of time. General Harding, initiate full deployment of our new defenses. Dr. Chen's team has bought us a chance, and we're going to use it." Around the world, hidden facilities began to hum with activity. Experimental spacecraft, powered by quantum cores, rose silently from underground hangars. Advanced weapon systems, capable of rivaling Zephyrian technology, were brought online. In orbit, the Zephyrian ships began to move, taking up new positions around the planet. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of humanity. As dawn broke over New York, President Marsh stood at the window of her office, looking out at a world on the brink of transformation. In less than 2 weeks, either humanity would take its place as a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy, or it would fall under the dominion of an alien power. The diplomatic dance was over. Now, the real test would begin. The cavernous underground hangar buzzed with activity as scientists, engineers, and military personnel rushed to prepare Earth's secret fleet. Dr. Aria Chen stood before a sleek, otherworldly craft, its hull shimmering with a faint blue energy field. She placed her hand on the cool metal, feeling the subtle vibrations of the quantum core within. "It's time," she said, turning to face General Harding and a group of pilots. "Operation Quantum Surge is go." The general nodded grimly. "You've done the impossible, Dr. Chen. Now it's our turn to put it to the test." As the pilots climbed into their craft, Aria couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. In mere months, they'd reversed engineered Zephyrian technology and pushed it even further, creating ships that could outmaneuver and potentially outgun their alien counterparts. Above ground, the world continued its usual rhythm, oblivious to the technological revolution happening beneath their feet. The Zephyrian ships maintained their ominous vigil in orbit, a constant reminder of the alien presence. In Washington, D.C., President Marsh addressed a joint session of Congress. Her words were carefully chosen, hinting at breakthrough technologies without revealing the full extent of Earth's advancements. "My fellow Americans, citizens of Earth," she began, her voice steady and resolute. "We stand at the dawn of a new era. Our scientists and engineers have made unprecedented strides in clean energy, space exploration, and global communication. Today, we unveil a new satellite network that will revolutionize our understanding of the universe." As she spoke, the first wave of Earth's advanced satellites began their ascent into orbit. To the casual observer, and hopefully to the Zephyrians, they appeared to be nothing more than a new communications array. In reality, they were a vital part of Earth's new defense grid, capable of generating a planet-wide energy shield and housing advanced weapon systems. In orbit, Ambassador Zorax watched the launch with growing suspicion. He turned to his second-in-command, Vexlor. "These humans are up to something. Their technology is advancing far too quickly." Vexlor's multifaceted eyes narrowed. "Should we intervene? Stop the launch?" Zorax considered for a moment. "No, not yet. Let's see what they're really capable of. Intensify our scans and prepare a probe." It's time we tested their defenses. Back on Earth, in the secret command center beneath the Pentagon, Area and her team monitored the satellite deployment. Energy signatures are stable, she reported. The quantum link is holding. We're ready to activate the global shield on your command, Madam President. President Marsh, who had joined them via secure video link, nodded. Well done, Dr. Chen. But let's hold off on full activation for now. We don't want to show our full hand just yet. As night fell across the planet, Operation Quantum Surge entered its next phase. Under the cover of darkness, Earth's new fleet of advanced spacecraft began to launch. They rose silently from hidden bases around the globe, their quantum drives allowing them to slip past conventional detection methods. Colonel Sarah Hawkins, leader of the first squadron, felt a surge of exhilaration as her ship broke through the atmosphere. Sierra Squadron, sound off, she commanded. One by one, her pilots reported in. They were a diverse group, the best Earth had to offer, now piloting the most advanced machines ever created by human hands. Remember your training, Hawkins continued. We're here to run silent drills. No engagement with Zephyrian forces unless absolutely necessary. Our goal is to get familiar with these birds without alerting our visitors. For hours, the Earth fleet conducted complex maneuvers in the shadow of the moon, pushing their new technology to its limits. The quantum cores performed flawlessly, allowing the ships to execute turns and accelerations that would have been impossible with conventional propulsion. However, their presence didn't go entirely unnoticed. On the bridge of the Zephyrian flagship, an alert sounded. A junior officer turned to Zorax, confusion evident in his voice. Ambassador, we're detecting anomalous energy signatures near the Earth's moon. They're unlike anything in our database. Zorax leaned forward, his interest piqued. Show me. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying a field of stars. At first, nothing seemed amiss. Then, almost imperceptibly, a shadow moved against the backdrop of space. Zorax's eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible, he muttered. They couldn't have. Vexlor, launch the probe immediately. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. As the Zephyrian probe rocketed towards the moon, Colonel Hawkins received an urgent communication. Sierra Leader, this is command. We have an unidentified object approaching your position at high speed. Designate as possible hostile. Hawkins' mind raced. This was the moment of truth. Sierra Squadron, form up on me. Activate stealth systems and prepare for possible engagement. The Earth ships shimmered and seemed to fade from view, their advanced cloaking technology rendering them nearly invisible. The Zephyrian probe arrived moments later, its sensors scanning the area furiously. For several tense minutes it hovered, searching for the source of the energy signatures. In the Pentagon Command Center, Area watched the situation unfold with bated breath. The cloaking technology is holding, she reported. The probe doesn't seem to have detected our ships. President Marsh nodded, her face grim. Let's hope it stays that way. The longer we can keep our advancements secret, the better chance we have of surviving what's coming. But their luck was about to run out. As the probe completed its sweep and began to retreat, one of Sierra Squadron's pilots made a critical error. His ship drifted too close to the probe, causing a momentary fluctuation in the cloaking field. It was only for a split second, but it was enough. The probe's sensors lit up, and it immediately changed course, heading straight for the Earth ships. We've been made, Hawkins shouted. Sierra Squadron, evasive maneuvers. What followed was a high-stakes game of cat and mouse in the void of space. The Earth ships darted and weaved, their quantum drives allowing them to pull off maneuvers that left the Zephyrian probe struggling to keep up. In orbit, Zorax watched the feed from the probe with a mixture of anger and grudging admiration. So, he growled, the humans have been keeping secrets. Vexlor, recall the probe, and send a message to the collective. Tell them we may need reinforcements. As the Earth ships returned to their hidden bases, the mood was tense. They had survived their first encounter, but the element of surprise was now lost. In the Pentagon, President Marsh turned to Area and General Harding. "It seems our hand has been forced," she said. "Dr. Chen, how soon can we have the global shield operational?" Area's fingers flew over her tablet. "With the satellite network in place, we can have it up and running in 48 hours. The President nodded. "Do it. And General, I think it's time we showed the world what we're really capable of. Prepare for a global announcement. The time for secrecy is over." As the team sprang into action, Area couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and apprehension. They had achieved the impossible, pushing human technology centuries ahead in a matter of months. But would it be enough to stand against the full might of the Zephyrian collective? The next 48 hours would determine the fate of humanity. The technological leap was complete. Now, the true test would begin. The world held its breath as screens everywhere flickered to life, broadcasting the joint address from global leaders. President Evelyn Marsh stood at the forefront, her face a mask of determination. "Citizens of Earth," she began, her voice steady and clear. "For months, we have lived under the shadow of an alien presence. The Zephyrians came to us offering protection, but at a price that would have cost us our freedom. Today, we stand united to declare that humanity will chart its own course among the stars." As she spoke, holographic displays materialized around her, showcasing Earth's technological leap, advanced spacecraft, quantum energy cores, and the global defense shield. Each revelation elicited gasps of amazement from the watching populace. "We have achieved in months what might have taken centuries," Marsh continued. "This is not just America's achievement, but a triumph of human ingenuity and cooperation. We stand ready to defend our world and to take our place as equals in the galactic community." The reaction was immediate and intense. Social media exploded with a mix of excitement, disbelief, and fear. In cities around the globe, people poured into the streets, their eyes turned skyward to the Zephyrian ships still looming above. In orbit, Ambassador Zorax watched the broadcast, his multifaceted eyes narrowing with each new revelation. "Impossible," he muttered, turning to his subordinates. "Prepare my shuttle. It's time we had a frank discussion with these humans." As Zorax's shuttle descended towards the United Nations headquarters in New York, Dr. Area Chen and her team worked feverishly in the Pentagon's command center. "Global Shield is at 89% capacity," Area reported, her fingers flying over holographic controls. "We'll have full coverage in less than an hour." General Harding nodded grimly. "Let's hope that's enough time. The Zephyrians aren't going to take this lying down." At the UN, world leaders gathered in an emergency session. The atmosphere was tense, a mix of pride in their achievements and apprehension about the coming confrontation. As Zorax entered the chamber, flanked by his guards, a hush fell over the assembly. "You've been busy," the Zephyrian ambassador said, his voice dripping with barely contained anger. "Did you really think you could hide this level of advancement from us?" President Marsh stepped forward, her chin high. "We did what was necessary to protect our world and our independence, Ambassador. We're not seeking conflict, but we will not bow to intimidation." Zorax's eyes flashed dangerously. "You have no idea of the forces you're dealing with. The Zephyrian collective has brought order to 1,000 worlds. Did you think your parlor tricks would be enough to stand against us?" As the verbal sparring continued, tensions rose to a fever pitch. In orbit, the Zephyrian fleet began to shift formation, taking up more aggressive positions around the planet. In the Pentagon Command Center, alarms blared. Multiple Zephyrian ships breaking orbit, a technician called out. "They're on an intercept course with our satellite network." Area's heart raced as she turned to General Harding. "The shield isn't at full power yet. If they take out enough satellites before we're ready." The general's face hardened. "We can't wait any longer. Dr. Chen, activate the shield. Now." Area took a deep breath and placed her hand on the activation panel. initiating global quantum shield. Around the planet, a shimmering blue energy field began to coalesce. It started as individual domes over major cities, then expanded and merged, forming a continuous barrier enveloping the Earth. In New York, the UN session was interrupted as the shield sprang to life. Zorax's eyes widened in a mix of surprise and grudging respect. "So," he said, his voice low, "you've managed to replicate our shielding technology. Impressive, but not enough." He tapped a device on his wrist, and a holographic display appeared before him. "This is your one and only warning. Deactivate your shield and surrender your new technology to the Zephyrian Collective, or face the consequences." President Marsh stood her ground. "And what consequences would those be, Ambassador?" Zorax's face twisted into a cruel smile. "As we speak, a Zephyrian battle fleet is entering your solar system. They will arrive in less than 48 hours. If you have not complied with our demands by then, we will have no choice but to take what we want by force." A murmur of fear rippled through the assembly. Marsh's advisors huddled around her, whispering urgently, but the president's resolve didn't waver. "We reject your ultimatum," she declared, her voice ringing through the chamber. "Earth is not yours to command, Ambassador. We will defend our home, no matter the cost." Zorax's eyes narrowed. "So be it. You have 48 hours to reconsider. Choose wisely, humans. The fate of your species hangs in the balance." With that, he turned and strode out of the chamber, his guards close behind. As the Zephyrian shuttle lifted off, returning to the orbiting fleet, the world erupted into a frenzy of activity. Military forces were mobilized, emergency protocols activated, and civilians began preparing for the worst. In the Pentagon, Aria and her team worked tirelessly to maximize the efficiency of the global shield and prepare Earth's defenses. The prototype fleet was brought to full readiness, their quantum cores humming with barely contained energy. "How do we stand?" President Marsh asked, her face grim as she conferred with her top advisors via secure video link. General Harding stepped forward. "The shield is holding, but we don't know how it will fare against a full Zephyrian assault. Our fleet is ready, but they outnumber us significantly. We're going to need every advantage we can get." Aria spoke up, her voice tired but determined. "We're working on a few last-minute upgrades. If we can boost the output of the quantum cores, we might be able to give our ships an edge in maneuverability and firepower." Marsh nodded. "Do whatever you can, Dr. Chen. We're counting on you." She turned to address the entire team. "I won't lie to you. The next 48 hours will determine the fate of our species, but I have faith in each and every one of you. Together, we will show the galaxy that humanity is not to be underestimated." As the meeting concluded, Aria found a quiet corner and allowed herself a moment of reflection. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her shoulders. Billions of lives depended on the technology she and her team had developed. Would it be enough? She thought of her family, her friends, all the people she'd never meet, all counting on her, even if they didn't know it. Squaring her shoulders, she returned to her workstation. There was no time for doubt. The clock was ticking, and humanity's greatest test was about to begin. In orbit, the Zephyrian fleet prepared for battle. On Earth, humanity steeled itself for the fight of its life. As the hours ticked away, one question loomed large in everyone's mind. When the Zephyrian battle fleet arrived, would Earth stand strong, or would it fall? The stage was set for a conflict that would reshape the galaxy. In less than 2 days, the future of humanity would be decided. The tension in Earth's atmosphere was palpable as the 48-hour deadline approached its final moments. In the Pentagon's Subterranean Command Center, Dr. Aria Chen stood before a massive holographic display of the solar system, watching as red dots representing the incoming Zephyrian battle fleet drew ever closer. "Final status report," General Harding barked, his voice tight with tension. Aria took a deep breath before responding. "Global shield is at maximum capacity. Our quantum satellite network is fully operational. The Earth Defense Fleet is in position and awaiting orders." President Marsh nodded grimly. "And the Zephyrians? Their main fleet will enter the outer solar system in approximately 20 minutes, Area replied. "We're detecting over 500 ships, ranging from small fighters to dreadnoughts that dwarf anything we've ever seen." A hushed silence fell over the command center as the magnitude of the threat sank in. Humanity was about to face its greatest challenge, outgunned and outnumbered by a technologically superior force. President Marsh straightened her shoulders, her voice steady as she addressed the room. "We knew this day would come. Everything we've worked for, everything we've sacrificed, has led to this moment. Humanity will not go quietly into the night. We will fight, and we will prevail." As if on cue, alarms began to blare. On the holographic display, the red dots representing the Zephyrian fleet suddenly accelerated, streaking towards Earth at impossible speeds. "They're using some kind of faster-than-light technology," Arya exclaimed, her fingers flying over her console. "They'll be here in minutes." General Harding's voice boomed through the command center. "This is not a drill. All personnel to battle stations. Initiate Operation Solar Sentinel." Across the solar system, humanity's defenses sprang to life. The Earth Defense Fleet, hidden in the shadow of the moon, powered up their quantum drives. Automated defense platforms scattered throughout the asteroid belt activated, their weapons systems coming online. In low Earth orbit, the Zephyrian ships that had been present since first contact began to move, forming a defensive screen around the planet. Ambassador Zorax's voice crackled over the emergency broadcast system. "People of Earth, this is your final warning. Lower your shields and surrender. Resistance will only bring destruction." President Marsh's response was swift and resolute. "Humanity rejects your ultimatum, Ambassador. We choose freedom." With those words, the battle for Sol began in earnest. The Zephyrian battle fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel just beyond Mars, their massive ships casting long shadows across the red planet. Without hesitation, they launched waves of fighters and began advancing towards Earth. Colonel Sarah Hawkins, leading the vanguard of Earth's fleet, felt a mix of fear and determination as she watched the enemy approach. "Sierra Squadron, form up," she commanded. "Remember your training. We may be outnumbered, but we got a few tricks up our sleeves." As the two fleets clashed in the space between Mars and Earth, it quickly became apparent that humanity's technological leap had leveled the playing field more than the Zephyrians had anticipated. Earth's ships, powered by their quantum cores, demonstrated maneuverability that caught the aliens off guard. Hawkins' voice crackled over the comm as her squadron executed a series of impossible turns, evading Zephyrian fire while landing precision strikes on the larger ships. "Use the quantum slipstream to your advantage. They can't track us when we're phasing." Back on Earth, Arya and her team worked feverishly to coordinate the planet's defenses. The global shield hummed with energy as it absorbed blast after blast from the Zephyrian capital ships. "Shield integrity at 82% and holding," Arya reported. "The quantum resonance is distributing the impact across the entire network. It's working." But the Zephyrians were not to be underestimated. As the battle raged on, they began to adapt their tactics. A massive dreadnought, easily the size of a small moon, moved into position above Earth's North Pole. "Energy spike detected," a technician shouted. "They're charging some kind of super weapon." Arya's mind raced as she analyzed the readings. "It's a graviton beam," she realized with horror. "If it hits us, it could disrupt the planet's magnetic field, maybe even its rotation." General Harding turned to President Marsh. "Ma'am, we need to take out that dreadnought, no matter the cost." Marsh nodded grimly. "Do what you have to, General. Earth is counting on you." As the order went out, Colonel Hawkins and a squadron of Earth's most advanced ships broke away from the main battle, streaking towards the massive Zephyrian vessel. "This is Sierra Leader," Hawkins broadcasted. "We're initiating Operation Sunburst. All units, prepare to execute on my mark. The Earth ships weaved through a hail of enemy fire, their quantum drives allowing them to phase in and out of normal space. As they approached the dreadnought, Hawkins gave the command. Now, in a coordinated maneuver, the Earth ships activated their secret weapon, a cascading quantum detonation. The fabric of space-time around the dreadnought warped and twisted, tearing the massive ship apart from the inside out. The explosion was visible from Earth, a brief new star flaring in the sky before fading away. A cheer went up in the command center, but Arya knew the battle was far from over. As the conflict stretched on, both sides suffered heavy losses. The space around Earth became a graveyard of shattered ships and debris. But slowly, inexorably, humanity began to gain the upper hand. Arya's voice, filled with a mix of exhaustion and excitement, cut through the chaos of the command center. Their fleet is falling back. We're detecting multiple ships jumping to faster-than-light speeds. On the main view screen, Ambassador Zorax's face appeared, his usual composure shattered. This is impossible. How could you have advanced so quickly? President Marsh stepped forward, her voice steady. You underestimated us, Ambassador. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt, to overcome. We offered you friendship, and you chose domination. Now you see the consequences of that choice. Zorax's eyes narrowed. This isn't over, humans. The collective will not forget this defiance. As the last of the Zephyrian ships retreated, leaving only wreckage in their wake, a stunned silence fell over Earth. Then, gradually, the realization set in. Against all odds, humanity had stood its ground. They had faced the greatest threat in their history and emerged victorious. In the command center, exhausted but elated, Arya turned to General Harding and President Marsh. We did it, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. We actually did it. Marsh nodded, a tired smile on her face. We did, Dr. Chen. Thanks to you, and every person who worked tirelessly to give us a fighting chance. She turned to address the entire room. But this is just the beginning. We've proven ourselves on a galactic stage. Now we must be prepared for what comes next. As news of the victory spread across the globe, humanity rejoiced. But in the back of everyone's mind, a sobering thought remained. The universe was vastly larger and more complex than they had ever imagined. Earth had won this battle, but the war for their place among the stars was far from over. The battle for Sol was over, but humanity's journey into the cosmic frontier had only just begun. The dawn broke over a changed Earth. As the sun's rays touched upon the debris fields orbiting the planet, remnants of the epic battle fought just days before. Humanity awoke to a new reality. They were no longer alone in the universe, and more importantly, they were no longer helpless. In the weeks following the Zephyrian retreat, the world underwent a transformation. The secret of humanity's technological leap was fully revealed, and the implications were staggering. Clean, unlimited energy from quantum cores began to reshape economies overnight. The threat of climate change receded as fossil fuels were rapidly phased out. Dr. Arya Chen found herself at the center of this revolution. As she stood before a United Nations Special Assembly, she couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought her here. Distinguished delegates, she began, her voice carrying across the hushed chamber, the quantum technology that allowed us to defend our world is more than just a weapon. It's the key to unlocking humanity's potential. With it, we can solve global hunger, reverse environmental damage, and extend human life. But with this power comes great responsibility. The assembly listened intently as Arya laid out her vision for a new era of human development. It was a future of space exploration, of healing the planet, and of preparing for humanity's role in a larger galactic community. Meanwhile, in orbit, the work of understanding the wider universe continued. The captured Zephyrian ships and technology were a treasure trove of information. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock to decipher alien star charts, communications protocols, and faster-than-light drive systems. Colonel Sarah Hawkins, now Admiral Hawkins, oversaw the expansion of Earth's defense fleet. As she watched a new class of quantum dry ships take shape in orbital shipyards, she mused to her second-in-command. "A year ago, I was flying glorified tin cans. Now look at us. We're building ships that can dance between the stars." But it wasn't all smooth sailing. The defeat of the Zephyrians had left a power vacuum in the local stellar neighborhood. Reports began to trickle in of other alien civilizations taking notice of the upstart humans who had bloodied the nose of a galactic superpower. In a secure briefing room deep within the Pentagon, President Marsh met with her top advisors. General Harding's face was grim as he reported, "We're picking up increased chatter from at least 3 different alien alliances. Some see us as potential allies against Zephyrian influence. Others view us as a threat to be contained." Marsh nodded, her brow furrowed in thought. "Then we need to make our intentions clear. Humanity won't be conquerors, but we won't be victims either. It's time we took a more active role in galactic affairs." Over the next few months, Earth began to send out diplomatic missions to nearby star systems. These emissaries carried messages of peace and cooperation, but also demonstrations of humanity's newfound strength. It was a delicate balance, extending a hand in friendship while making it clear that that hand could form a fist if necessary. Dr. Chen found herself on one such mission, traveling to a neutral space station at the edge of former Zephyrian space. As their ship docked, she marveled at the diversity of alien life forms gathered there. Species of all shapes and sizes moved through the station's corridors, a dizzying array of cultures and technologies mingling in a cosmic bazaar. "Dr. Chen," a melodious voice called out. She turned to see a tall, willowy being approaching. Its skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, and its eyes were deep pools of wisdom. "I am Xylos, representative of the Galactic Concord. We've been most eager to meet with you." As they talked, Aria realized that humanity's actions had sent shockwaves through the galactic political landscape. The Zephyrian collective's defeat had destabilized long-standing power structures, and many were looking to Earth as a potential new player on the cosmic stage. "Your species has achieved in months what takes most civilizations centuries," Xylos mused. "It's both impressive and, frankly, a bit frightening to some of our members. We're here to understand your intentions." Aria chose her words carefully. "Humanity seeks knowledge, cooperation, and a peaceful coexistence with all sentient life. But we've learned the hard way that peace must sometimes be defended. We're ready to do our part in maintaining galactic stability, but on equal terms." The negotiations that followed were complex and often tense. Earth found itself walking a tightrope between various alien factions, each with their own agendas and concerns. But slowly, a new galactic order began to take shape, one in which humanity played a pivotal role. Back on Earth, the changes continued at a dizzying pace. The first human colony on Mars was established, a testament to how far they'd come in such a short time. Quantum technology began to reshape every aspect of society, from medicine to transportation to entertainment. Yet, with all this progress came new challenges. The rapid advancements led to social upheaval, ethical dilemmas, and the need to redefine what it meant to be human in an age of near-magical technology. In a quiet moment, President Marsh stood at the window of the Oval Office, gazing up at the stars. Admiral Hawkins and Dr. Chen stood with her, each lost in their own thoughts. A year ago, those stars were just pretty lights in the sky, Marsh mused. Now they're destinations, potential allies or enemies. We've come so far, so fast. Hawkins nodded. And we've made some powerful enemies. The Zephyrians won't forget what happened here. They'll be back, maybe not today or tomorrow, but someday. Then we'll be ready, Aria said firmly. But we'll also be wiser. Our goal shouldn't be just to survive in this new galactic era, but to thrive, to contribute, to make the universe a better place, not just for humanity, but for all sentient life. President Marsh turned to face them, her expression resolute. Agreed. We stepped onto the galactic stage in a baptism of fire. Now it's time to show the universe what humanity can really do. Not through force, but through innovation, diplomacy, and an unwavering commitment to our principles. As they stood there, the weight of the future heavy on their shoulders, a shooting star streaked across the sky. In that moment, they each silently renewed their commitment to guiding humanity through this new frontier. The path forward was uncertain, filled with both promise and peril. But one thing was clear: humanity's destiny now lay among the stars. They had faced their trial by fire and emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to take their place in the grand tapestry of galactic civilization. As dawn broke on this new era, Earth stood not just as a tiny blue marble in the cosmic ocean, but as a beacon of hope, innovation, and indomitable spirit. The greatest adventure in human history was just beginning, and its chapters would be written across the stars.